I'm checking in again on May the 30th, 2010 now, on a gorgeous, gorgeous Sunday here in Asturias. The building that I'm showing you here is the Emigration Museum of Asturias in the town of Colombres. Very, very interesting place. I wasn't able to film inside, but I wanted to give you a little look here at the brochure. Two important people from the village here, the Ibanez Posada brothers, immigrated. One immigrated to Mexico, the other one immigrated to Cuba. They both became very, very successful and wealthy and came back here into town, actually built mansions and installed public electricity and the water system and all that type of stuff. You can see it's a gorgeous, gorgeous mansion. But I just wanted to let you know this is actually a very interesting museum because it documents Asturian immigration, which happened mostly from the 1850s to the 1950s. From that point forward, actually a lot of Asturians started to emigrate to Western European countries like Spain and Germany and France and Belgium. But before then, they emigrated to countries like Argentina, Cuba and Mexico. And the group of immigrants that was actually successful was called Los Indianos, and those are the ones that came back and built mansions and did all sorts of infrastructure improvements for the local people here in Asturias. The museum itself actually has interesting rooms. Some of them are dedicated to the Asturian centers abroad. Asturian centers in La Habana, in Havana, for example, in Mexico City, in Buenos Aires, even in Tampa, Florida, there is an Asturian center. And Asturians abroad actually still celebrate their heritage today. Some of the other stuff that actually touched me a lot was there's a room upstairs on the third floor that shows you the posters of ships that the immigrants used to take to sail to the foreign countries, and pictures of people saying goodbye. And that actually really touched me. I got all verklempt up there because I know what it feels like when you're leaving your home country, being an immigrant myself. You know, I live in Canada now, in Toronto, and of course Toronto is now my chosen hometown. But I originally left my home country of Austria at the young age of 20 years of age with the intention of only staying for 1 year. But, you know, as I kept renewing my work permit and kept staying longer, it became evident that I was now an immigrant in Canada and no longer a resident of Austria. And that room upstairs in this beautiful mansion, the room of goodbyes, with all the photos of people saying goodbye, really touched something, because, I mean, you have to imagine that all these people had to leave their parents and cousins and friends and aunts and uncles and all the people that were important to them behind to make a new life for themselves overseas. And somehow that brought back some memories for me as well. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go on a walk through the town here. Let me show you the brochure. The whole region, the council here, is called Riva de Deva, La Huella Indiana. Huella Indiana means traces of the North American immigrants that came back, because Indianos were the immigrants from Asturias that returned back to their home country. And many of them built amazing mansions. I mean, all of them had found fortune, because the Indianos, by definition, were the successful Asturian immigrants that came back and built many different mansions and villas. And the church in town here, actually, as well as City Hall, are also works of Indianos. Yesterday, I went to a town called Riva de Sella, which is probably about maybe 50 kilometers west of here. And Riva de Sella has some amazing mansions right on the boardwalk in the waterfront of some of these Indianos that came back to Spain from places like Mexico and Cuba, where they had become very wealthy. So I will check in with you from my walking tour of the Casas Indianas right here in Colombres, in Asturias.